Call the meeting to order. This is the April meeting of the Black Mountain Board of Aldermen for the regular session. The TV showing of this will be on Sundays at 8 o'clock on Buncombe County TV Channel 2. Also, it's linked on YouTube from the Black Mountain Town website. Also, with it's archived with past meetings available. This time, I'd like for everyone to stand and let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Our invocation tonight is by Pastor Brent Bullock of Black Mountain View Church. Come up here, Pastor, if you would, please.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for a beautiful day that you blessed us with. We thank you for the blessings of life and health. We thank you for the men and women gathered in this room. We thank you for this town. I pray, Lord, your blessings on each of them as they lead. Lord, we pray for your wisdom and your guidance in each decision. We pray for the safety of those who work and live and visit this town. And Lord, we thank you for all that you've done for us, and we look forward to great things in a new year. And Lord, we just ask that you would be in all the details, and may a spirit of unity and cooperation prevail here and in the coming days. And we'll thank you because we make our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Be seated, please. We have two proclamations tonight. One is the Spring Litter Sweep 2013. Whereas the North Carolina Department of Transportation organizes an annual spring statewide roadside cleanup to ensure clean and beautiful roads in North Carolina. Whereas the Spring 2013 Litter Sweep roadside cleanup will take place April 13th through April 27th, 2013. And whereas Adopt a Highway volunteers, Department of Transportation employees, Department of Correction inmates, and community service workers, local government agencies, community leaders, civic and community organizations, businesses, churches, schools, and environmentally concerned citizens conduct annual local cleanups during Litter Sweep. And whereas this year, the town of Black Mountain will observe the annual spring cleanup on Saturday, April 27th, 2013, 9 a.m. until noon, starting at the town square. Therefore, I, Carl Bartlett, Mayor of the town of Black Mountain, do hereby proclaim April 13th through April 27th, 2013 as spring litter sweep time in our town. I encourage all citizens to take an active role by participating in making our community cleaner and more beautiful. Next proclamation is Child Abuse Prevention Month, April 2013. Whereas the problem of child abuse and neglect affects many of our children and has reached epidemic proportions, with over 5 million children reported as abused, neglected every year in the U.S., over 125,000 in North Carolina, and 3,985 in Buncombe County last year. But whereas North Carolina faces a continuing need to support innovative programs to prevent child abuse and assist parents and family members when child abuse occurs. And whereas preventing child abuse and neglect is the responsibility of all citizens, and whereas every child has a right to a safe, healthy, nurturing environment, and whereas community action is needed to help prevent child abuse so all children can have the opportunity to reach their potential. And whereas it is vital that we join forces with the Child Protection Team of Buncombe County and Child Abuse Prevention Service Incorporated to reach out to parents and children to prevent child abuse and neglect, strengthen families, and assist children and families who have experienced abuse. Therefore, I, Carl Bartlett, Mayor of the town of Black Mountain, do hereby proclaim April 2013 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the town of Black Mountain, and call upon every citizen to observe this month by joining with Child Abuse Prevention Service Incorporated, with the Child Protection Team, and with community groups and individuals in the observance of this month with appropriate programs and activities. This time we have citizen comments. If you would, when you come up, please give us your address and hold your comments to 3 minutes. First is Phil Bassessi.
Phil Bassessi, 15 Highview Drive, Black Mountain. Sorry if some of my ideas sound a little bit left-wing or something, but they I come to them from a social justice perspective. And Father Matt tells me if you're going to stand for peace and justice, you have to take the blows. So I'm ready for anybody to say we can't afford your ideas. Mike, I saw you jogging the other night on Blue Ridge Road. You had about 1 foot between the stripe and the mess on the side. I'd like to encourage us to take all of the sides of the roads, especially where there's a drainage ditch, put a perforated pipe in it, fill it with gravel, take all the junk out of it, and make mulch out of it and top that gravel with mulch so that we have walking paths in this town. I think it's a right of anybody to be able to use the streets safely in a multimodal way. And the other thing is I won't be using hot water, but that doesn't bother me because I have the luxury of going to Cheshire. But I also won't be heating the house until I get money from Evelyn next year. I can't afford propane. I think it's a human right that if we have a gas pipeline in this town, that it should extend to everybody in town, not the privileged few. And I think we should, whether it takes a petition or what, we should just set it up that everybody gets natural gas coming by their house so they can sign up for it. That'll cut a home heating bill from $2,000 a year to $700 a year. And people in poverty don't have $2,000 a year for oil or propane to heat homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Gay Fox? Tom Gill?
Thank you, Mayor and Board. I've put a packet in front of all of you. I just want to give you a brief update about what's going on with the town square. You may have noticed that within the past week, the fragment of wall that was left standing at the west end of the property has been taken down, as well as the wood fence along the sidewalk and the old light pole. Additional soil has been brought in to bring the surface up to sidewalk level, so people can now safely walk into the space without any hindrance. The next steps are to plant additional grass, which I guess was done today, and a possible flower bed in time for some early blossoms. We also have 2 park benches to put on that end so that people have a place to sit and contemplate the beautiful springtime views. In the last report delivered during the January meeting, I mentioned several grants we have applied to receive. The largest of those was through the Tourism Development Association. Though we made it through their initial cut, their board decided not to fund the project this year. The door remains open, however, to return next year with a new grant proposal. Alderman Collins, along with County Commissioner Ellen Frost, made it possible for us to appear before the county commissioners and seek funding from Buncombe County to build the public restrooms on their property. After hearing a presentation, that board voted 7-0 in favor of our request. And I understand that that check is forthcoming. We'll be here within the next couple of days. Our fundraising efforts so far have reached the public phase according to the plan that we have in place. Now, I'm wearing a sticker here that says RU Square. You may have seen some of that around town, and I'll get into that in just a little bit down the road here. You may have seen the Black Mountain News a couple of weeks ago that the 3rd grade class of the Black Mountain Primary School won the popcorn party for the most collections in the Penny for the Square campaign. First grader Mary Margaret Hurt won the Draw What You Want to See in Your Town Square contest. And if you look at your packet, you'll see a copy of her drawing in there. It's great. Her winning entry is attached to your packet. So far, the campaign has collected $400 for the square, and there are more schools to go in this process. More information is available online at www.blackmountaintownsquare.com. This week will feature a much larger spread in the news with the official launch of the Buy a Brick and Sponsor a Feature campaign. That's also part of the RU Square process. You may have noticed posters around town that ask, "Are you square?" We have another website, www.rusquare.com. That's the letter R, the letter U, and square.com, where people can purchase bricks online as well as sponsor features. We believe that this part of the fundraising will engage the most residents and will constitute a large part of the funding for the project. So far, with little advertisement, over $3,000 have been raised in brick sales alone. Finally, major local companies have come forward to express their desire to be involved in the project. So far, we have a commitment from one to supply gravel necessary to construct the parking lot, as well as the parking along State Street. Another company is interested in working with us toward paving the parking areas and also concrete for the sidewalks. This is consistent with the vision the committee has had from the beginning, in which the town works together to see the space become a wonderful, lasting legacy in Black Mountain. Thank you.
Thank you. Marilyn?
Marilyn Sabansky, representing Rainbow Recycling. On Saturday, April 27th, from 8 to 11, will be the Black Mountain Eco Flea Market, sponsored by our Recreation and Parks Department and held at the public parking lot between the railroad tracks and SunTrust. Rainbow Recycling will be there again, as it has since the beginning of these events in 2010, having our special recycling collection. And like last year, we'll collect styrofoam, packaging, and small appliances. So that's white styrofoam, whether it's sheets, molded material, or peanuts, no food service. Remove any tape, paper and glue, no grease or grime, but dust is fine, and it must be dry. We're also collecting other kinds of packaging, such as bubble wrap, foam sheeting, paper, and these items must be clean and dry. These materials, to make it workable for us, need to be sorted and bagged separately. So there's bubble wrap only in a bag, peanuts only in a bag, and make sure, of course, that they're secured so we don't want peanuts blowing all over the parking lot. Please, no boxes. The one exception is if you have very large pieces of styrofoam, which often come in with large items. And, you know, if they're so big that it would take 2 or 3 to fill a bag, you don't need to bag those items. Rainbow Recycling promotes reuse. It's actually a higher priority than recycling. So any artists, galleries, shops, eBay sellers, anybody who may be moving is welcome to pick up whatever packaging material they would like on a first-come, first-served basis during the event hours. Rainbow Recycling is also collecting small appliances. That's toasters, coffee makers, microwaves, vacuum cleaners, fans, space heaters. We get those recycled, and that helps fund our different efforts. So you look for the big white truck. It'll be at the front end of the parking lot. And again, drop-offs are only between 8 and 11, which are the event hours. Any questions? You can call Rainbow Recycling at 669-5459 or contact us at info@rainbowrecycling.org. But I'd also like to mention that those are our efforts. The Parks and Recreation and Parks Department has arranged to have electronics and computer recycling also at this event, and Casey Connor can tell you more. And just a quick heads up, the next East Buncombe Hard to Recycle collection will be in July, and we hope to have it every year in July. Thank you.
Ma'am, what's the date again?
That's April 27th. So that's also when the litter sweep is. So there's going to be a lot happening that day.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do, Marilyn. Really keep us aware. John Richardson.
Good evening, I'm John Richardson, 111 Church Street. I've lived in Black Mountain off and on for over half my life. Graduate of Harvard of the South, Clemson University, and believe it or not, Columbia Theological Seminary.
You're really starting out on the wrong foot, John.
Coming to talk to you about a couple things today. During the day, I'm a consultant in the pharmaceutical world. At night, I hang out at the Black Mountain Ale House. We've been in business a little over 2.5 years. Maybe not quite 2.5 years. We've just recently started an art and restaurant association, so I'm coming to speak to you on behalf of Black Mountain Arts and Restaurants Bar. And our mission is to uphold and promote the culture and flavor of downtown Black Mountain as a culinary arts and libation destination. We're a registered 501c6 organization, that is affiliated with the American Independent Business Alliance. And our goal is to help small independent businesses thrive, to help make this community all that we hope it will be. Thank you on behalf of all that y'all do to help create community. That's one of the things that we have in common in this place, but in Black Mountain, is that we all want this to be a special community, and we want to share with everyone around what a special community this is. So in that vein, I want to say that the Art and Restaurant Association, our board, supports the Town Square project 100%, and we want to do all that we can to help make that successful. So know that you can call on us in any need, in any capacity, to help support that. And the second thing I want to mention is to encourage you to provide some leadership in forming some type of an open container policy. I think that is something that will help increase revenue in this town and decrease taxes. And I think that's something that we could all appreciate. I recently received, as owner of the Ale House, a letter from the Parks and Recs asking me to help sponsor the Park Rhythms program throughout the summer, which I think is a wonderful program. I also think that it could pay for itself if we had some common sense policies in place that it will allow for beer and wine to be sold there. We have over 60 beer and wine licenses in town. We have had very few problems since Liquor by the Drink was passed overwhelmingly a year and a half ago. So I would just encourage you to provide some leadership as we move forward on this. Again, thanks for all that you do in helping to make this place so special.
Thank you. John DeWitt.
John DeWitt, 169 Hilltop Road, Black Mountain. Just wanted to update you and follow up a little bit of what Tom said. Just to correct one thing he did say, he said we had 3,000 bricks. The settings just gave us a $2,500 check for a plaque also at the town, so it's now 5,500 in bricks, and we thank the settings publicly for their generous contribution. Just to make people aware, this is the postcard that every resident in Black Mountain should get or has gotten in the last 2 weeks. We're mailing out another 1,000 this week. This is the postcard, areyouSquare.com. Gives a little bit of the history of the square. It gives the concert dates, the May 4th being the first concert date on the square. And then on the front side, or the back side, I guess it's the front, is a place where you can fill out your what you want on your brick and the two sizes of the bricks. And then if you want a bigger brick, the $2,500 one or the $5,000 one, you can go to the website and they'll show you how to do that. But every family resident in the area in 28711 should get one of these. So please look at it and fill it out and mail it or drop it off here at Town Hall and we'll pick it up. Also, these brochures are all over town. These are a little more information. It gives an example of what the town square is going to be. Again, on the back, you can do up to 8 lines of different sizes of bricks. They're all over town, so we encourage you to pick one of these up and mail them or drop them off, and we'll be glad to pick them up and do that, because this is now our major fundraising effort for the next 3 months that we should have. So we thank you all. We hope all of you will wear one of these. You've seen the thing, I am square. Please be square, be a square supporter of the Black Mountain Town Square. And thank you all for your tremendous support on this project.
John, I think when you sell something at one of our board meetings, there's a 10% commission back to the town.
Yes, sir. I'll give you 10% of what you give me.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Bill McGuire.
Thank you very much, Mayor Bartlett, Aldermen, Bill McGuire, 200 View Street, wonderful town of Black Mountain. Is that mine? As the mayor read, first, thank you all for recognizing Child Abuse Prevention Month. It's all about increasing awareness of child abuse, of prevention, of treatment. It's all about increasing reporting of child abuse and demonstrating a community commitment to protecting all children. Our future, literally, very literally. The numbers that Mayor Bartlett read are staggering. 3,000, without going into the big numbers, 3,985 children reported abused, neglected, right here in Buncombe County. Staggering number. 5 million nationally. But thankfully, the successes are many. Whether it's our school-based prevention, personal safety program, K through 5, all Buncombe County schools, Asheville City schools, where a child learns some skills to protect themselves, to avoid or get out of an abusive situation. Or a little hand goes up and a child discloses abuse and it stops and they get help and they come to us for counseling. So there are a lot of good things going on. The numbers are terrible, staggering, but there are a lot of good things going on too. A couple of things coming up. This Friday, April 12th, Blue Ribbon Night at the Tourist. We'll be handing out blue ribbons at the gate and going out on the field, pinning a big blue ribbon, little person doing that on Teddy Tourist before the game. April 17th, 6 p.m., United Way Building in downtown Asheville, the film Searching for Angela Shelton. This is a pretty neat documentary film. Angela Shelton's an Asheville native. Her mother, Joanne, still lives here. She took off for a year in an RV to do a documentary film. She was searching for other people named Angela Shelton. In the course of her search, she was amazed at how many of them had also experienced childhood sexual abuse, as she had. In the course of that journey, she confronted her father, who had been her abuser. And it kind of ends on a high note, kind of her triumph over this journey and then her triumph over sexual abuse. April 20th, Saturday, at beautiful Lake Tomahawk, Paws for Kids, walking together to protect children and animals. We'll have music, we'll have McGruff, the crime prevention dog, Beamer, the BMW kissing dog, a bounce house for the little people, face painting, and some other activities. 10 a.m., 10 to 12, Saturday, April 20th, and hope all of y'all can join us. It'll be a lot of fun. The reason for this is a lot of people don't realize there were laws in this country to protect animals long before there was anything to protect children. In fact, the gentleman with who was president of the American SPCA in New York City in the 1880s was successful in getting the very first child abuse case in the court where there were no laws. And that was the beginning of the whole child welfare child protection movement in this country. Real quick, I'd just like to say too, to you all, Mayor and Aldermen, Deanna Stone at Lake Tomahawk is just a pleasure to work with. It couldn't get any better than that. Come on out April 20th. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill. Next is communications from departments. Recreation Service Department, Casey Connor.
Mayor, Board, thank you for the time this evening. We're going to be going through our winter 2012-2013 semi-annual report. Have to admit, going into this winter, I was a little nervous. We had 3 new staff, but as you've heard from some of the other people's comments, they've worked out really well, and they pulled off one of the best winter seasons that we've had. And you guys will see that from some of the things we've been able to do. Deanna continues to do our weekly hiking events at the Senior Center. She's averaging about 10 participants per week, and she did this all throughout the winter. Some of the more choice days she didn't go, but she did continue it all winter. The exercise classes have continued to be very popular, averaging about 10 participants. The lunch site, we're averaging 21 participants there, so we're keeping our numbers up really well there. A couple new classes that they've offered, a guided meditation class and a Qigong class. We've also had a free computer class for the seniors. It was an intro to Skype and Facebook. They all really enjoyed that, and I think it was a much needed thing. A lot of people, a lot of their younger families are using that, and so it's a good way for them to be able to communicate with grandchildren. Also, they did their annual trip to, they do an annual trip every year. This year it was to Savannah. They had 39 participants for that trip. The special events, we had the Halloween Carnival back on October the 27th. We had about 450 attendees for that. It was packed at the Carver Center. We had Circle of Lights after the holiday parade. And as you can see, we estimate about 500 attendees for that. The Valentine 5K race, we had 175 participants in the 5K race, and we had about 30 participants in the fun run. The Easter egg hunt, however, we experienced some pretty bad weather for our Easter egg hunt this year, and so our numbers were down. We had about 200 attendees there, and normally we're up around 400 attendees for that, so we were a bit low there. And for our athletics, we had 119 participants in the youth basketball program, 109 participants in the youth indoor soccer program. Adult basketball, we had a record 13 teams participate in our adult basketball program. Last fall, we had 12 teams in the adult co-ed softball. And in the Start Smart basketball, we had 16 participants. The Start Smart basketball is the ages 3 to 5 years that play before the, and it's more of a practice-oriented type of thing than actual games. And then to our community garden, this year we have 60 gardeners. We kind of reconfigured some of the plots there. So the number's a bit lower than last year, but they're using the same amount of space. We have more gardeners using full plots than half plots that we had last year. We do still have 9 people on the waiting list. Last year I guess it was for the last year, since July, we donated 3,170 pounds of food donated to the produce distribution. We've had 3 garden workshops, 40 attendees. We've had 4 school field trips down there with 140 attendees. We've had almost 2,700 hours of volunteer labor, and we've received over $3,000 in grant money to go to the park and to the garden. Some of the general accomplishments of the Parks and Greenways. We had our first track trail dedicated at Rec Park. You can see the mayor there cutting the ribbon for that. That was back in October. That's through the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation. That is a series of trails that kids can go out and explore the trails. There's pamphlets to accompany them on the trail exploration, and they're encouraged to do multiple trails, and they are sent kind of little things along the way. The more trails they do, they get patches and toys and things like that sent to them from the parks, Blue Ridge Foundation. Let's see. We had 200 participants at the Greenway Challenge just a couple weeks ago. That was held at Pisgah Brewing. We had 100 facility rentals between Lakeview, the Pavilion, and the Carver Center. And we are hopefully about to get 1,000 foot of sidewalk being built there in front of the elementary school very shortly. Gray Eagle Arena, we've had one of our most successful winters at Gray Eagle Arena in several years. Total expenditures, $11,100. This is as of March 26th. Total revenues, $12,400. Total rentals, 112. And we had 42 participants for the Start Smart soccer program, and that was over two sessions there. And then some of the upcoming events. Marilyn talked a little bit about the Earth Day Eco Flea Market. If you need any more information on that, you can call Deanna Stone at 669-8610, or you can visit our website. It's blackmountainrec.com for more information on that. One of the other things, or several of the other things, Recreational Swim League will be offering this year at the Black Mountain Pool. That'll be recreational swim league, a lot like our youth basketball and our indoor soccer leagues, where we'll take kids that sign up, we'll put them on teams together and have them compete against other Black Mountain kids. Park Rhythms will be kicking off with a local favorite, Kellen Watson. That'll be June the 20th. Black Mountain Summer Adventures Camp, sign-ups are going on now. We're going to have a full 8 weeks of summer camps this summer. It's based out of the Carver Center, and they do little day trips around Black Mountain and visit the Black Mountain pool quite a bit. Asheville Buncombe Senior Games are May 21st through the 25th. Walk to School Day will be May the 8th. Cycle to Farm Bike Ride is going to be July the 20th. That'll be held once again out of Rec Park. And we are also accepting sponsorships now for the Black Mountain Disc Golf Course whole sponsorship. So, does have any questions?
What's the number one rental parties on the Gray Eagle? Is it indoor soccer? Or?
Yes, it is indoor soccer. This year we kind of changed our philosophy and tried to gear more towards rentals and less towards league play. You're able to get more revenue through rentals than league play. So we were successful at doing that.
I have two letters here that have come to me in the last since we last met. That's in regard to the Parks and Rec. First one is, Dear Mayor Bartlett, last week we were two of the fortunate seniors to travel with Deanna Stone to Savannah, St. Simons, Jekyll Island, Paris Island, and Beaufort. The trip, sponsored by the Lakeview Senior Center, was well organized, cost-effective, and fun. It doesn't seem possible that we took in all these places in 3 days, and we're already planning to revisit the area. We appreciate the frequent stops on the travel days, having an opportunity to select our own lunch venues and returning to town exactly on schedule. We look forward to the next trip. Deanna was sensitive to those who needed assistance, as did our bus driver, Bill. It was surprising to learn that this was Deanna's first tour. Lakeview Center is fortunate to have her leadership. We appreciate what Lakeview Center has to offer seniors in this community. Sincerely, Margaret Neville and Jean Geddes. Next one is, Dear Mayor Bartlett, my friend Catherine Cabell and I recently enjoyed the 5-day bus tour to Savannah, sponsored by Black Mountains Recreation Parks. It was a wonderful adventure, so well planned and executed. We'd like to commend Deanna Stone, your Recreation Program Supervisor, for her kind attention to keeping us all happy and comfortable. Her ability to attend to the special needs of the group was remarkable. She kept us safe, warm, and content, as well as keeping us on time for each departure. She always seems to be good-natured and calm even when the pressure is on. Deanna is a real asset to our town and is greatly appreciated by all of us who are enjoying the variety of events that are sponsored at the Lakeview Senior Center. Thank you for providing us with such a competent program manager. She is doing a great job, Maggie Schulbach. So, you did well in hiring her.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like we made the right choice in the
Sure
interview.
does. Good. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Next is Public Services Department report from Jamie Matthews.
Evening, Mayor and Board. I'd just like to say our department had a very busy last 8 months, leading out of summertime, going into fall and winter. Our work orders completed, Streets and Parks completed 1,879 work orders for the past 8 months. Water was 1,333 with 36 leaks. Our cutoff and connections was 534, sanitation 82, and our work order total for the 8 months was 3,294. Our water system, on our usage, we used a little over 103 million gallons, being 427,000 gallons a day. Our water loss is a little over 27% at 166,000 gallons a day. On our water system projects, our GIS, GPS mapping, we've got the water lines complete, hydrants complete, valves complete, and we're 890 complete into 3,300 meters at this point. Our Hemphill water tank refurbishment, that was completed. I'd like to thank Southern Corrosion, Mark White for taking care of that. Also, we had Liquid Engineering coming in and inspect all the tanks for this year, and they all turned out really good. No defaults. anything like that. So it'll be about 6 to 8 years before we have to do that again on our refurbishment, and probably next 3-4 years on inspections again. So we're good there. Carolina Heights water pressure assessment, that's moving along really good. We should be moving along. We're actually going to start doing some digging within the next week or so, and try to have something done by about June. We got the permits and stuff and the okay back from the state on that. We're going to do part of the work in-house and try to bid out what we can't do, which would be installing 2 hydrants and some release valves, and do some work on North Fork and Holly Avenue, put 2 6-inch isolating valves in, things of that nature. So we're really looking good there. We hope that turns out good. Our hydrant testing we got completed. We done 137 Asheville, 306 Black Mountain, 14 in Laurel Ridge. Got that completed within them months. On our infrastructure.
Let me just interrupt if you would, and just try to explain to the folks on this what this Carolina Heights water pressure assessment's about. You know what it's trying to do in which area of town. Obviously Carolina Heights, right. But that area that is north and west of the Montreat Road.
Exactly. There's actually low pressure in that area, and it's been that way for years, and it's really needed to be addressed. And we're hoping with the engineering we got and the staff we got that it is actually supposed to boost a lot of pressure to at least 600 residents is what we're hoping. And so we've already sent the letters out telling them if they need pressure reducers, things of that nature, they need to go ahead and get those installed. So it'll really be a big help, and it's really been a problem area in that area, so it should help at least 500 to 600 people. On our infrastructure projects and activities, what I done, I broke the town down into 6 zones, sort of like the way we push snow. And the goal is in the next 6 years to complete a lot of stormwater and ditching problems in town. We started on zone 1, and it is already, I'm glad to say it is already complete. Not only did the guys get the stormwater ditching, but we went ahead and trimmed the right-of-ways while we was in that zone 2. So that's complete. We'll start on zone 2. On storm drain repairs and replacement, we had several of them. We had several culvert replacements, Julian Drive, Gatchel, Mount Allen Heights. We actually replaced culverts, got with all the residents up there, and they was very happy to pay for the culvert material. We supplied the labor and the manpower to get it done. We got that road completely done. Tree removals, I really can't give you a number considering the winter we had. Mother Nature was nice to us in one way in wintertime and terrible in another. We had several trees to remove due to storm damage, and then of course we had several to remove that was just a safety issue. And speaking of the storm damage and stuff, I'd like to thank both Chief Paget and Chief Jones for helping us out. That was a big help in the removal of trees and traffic control. Trimming the right-of-ways, we finished that up at the last of the summer months. Our winter preparations, we really didn't have no changes to winter preparations as far as rolling stock. So that's 2 years we've really saved a lot of money, and we've not used no chains, cutting edges, bolts, anything to do with plow maintenance. The only monies we spent was $1,400, and that was just to restock material, salt and sand. So we come out really good on that end for this winter. Street striping we had budgeted for this year. JLS is, well, I'm overthinking myself. The street striping this year that we done, we got all the crosswalks, loading zones, handicap areas, parking spaces, public safety. We still got some of the parks, parking lots and stuff to do for this year, but we got a lot of that stuff downtown completed this year. Gray Eagle Monument, we done a complete makeover on it, rebuilt the tank on it, water lines, put a new pump in it. We actually sealed it where it wouldn't leak. Redone the walking path behind it all the way out to Highway 9. Put geomatting down, re-graveled it where the grass can't grow back and be easier maintenance to take care of. Our asphalt patching and curbing, up till November we put out 52 tons of asphalt. We got that completed for last year. Street sign maintenance, we replaced 75 regulatory signs, bring them up to code and made them reflective. Got rid of a lot of the old painted signs. On our park maintenance, Lake Tomahawk replaced the floor in the pedestrian bridge, which was a big job. It took several days to do, and I'd like to thank them guys for doing that. So they've done a really good job. We underbrushed the island, of course. We asphalted the walking path to the tennis court, restriped the parking lots, installed a new door in Lakeview Center, replaced the filter pump in the pool, new matting in the pool house, repaired picnic shed at Spillway, and of course we've done our normal trail maintenance. Gray Eagle, we gravelled the parking lot, put down cross ties, landscape, sowed grass, and built a walking trail down to the community garden. Of course, we've done the geomatting and the pea gravel again where it'd be less maintenance. Carver Center, we insulated all the pipes in the main hallways, installed 2 new water fountains. Rec Park, this is something that I'm very proud of, and I'd like to thank the guys on it. They worked very hard on. During the storm damage, the walking trails along the river at Rec Park was completely gone. It washed them away. This crew, and I'd like to thank the Tollies that own Black Mountain Machine on Montreat Road. They had a bunch of shot rock beside our shop over there, and they gave us that rock, and we took a jackhammer on a traco and busted every bit of it. And these guys hauled that rock, and they completely built them trails back within just a matter of days. And I was really amazed by that and very proud of them, and I'd like to give them a pat on the back for that. If you didn't see it, you can't get an idea how bad it was, but it was bad. So they done a good job of that, getting it built back. We repaired the soccer goals, replaced damaged fence, and at the art center we retiled in the elevator floors, repaired the emergency lighting that wasn't working, repaired bathroom fixtures that had gone bad. And of course our greenways, mowing, weed eating, and routine maintenance, and of course we replaced several trash cans, put out new trash cans. Finished our first ink mowing was completed for the end of the year. Christmas decorations was installed and removed, along with the flags for Veterans Day, 4th of July, Memorial Day. And all of our locations was winterized. Wellheads, pools, community garden, rec park, Gray Eagle Monument, places like that. Administrative projects, asphalt overlays. I'd like to thank Lonesome Mountain Paving and Terry Coates. They got our lowest bids last year, and we got Hunting Lodge and Circle Lane repaved. They done a really good job. On our sidewalk replacement and repairs, I'd like to thank Candler Concrete and Dale Robinson. They done a really good job. They got the lowest bids, and we got a lot of sidewalk replaced that needed repair. Instead of repaired, it got replaced. We worked out a deal to where if we used our trucks and got rid of the concrete, it saved us about $4,000, and we got $4,000 more lineal footage of sidewalk put in. So that worked out really good. And we got in front of the primary school, US 70 at Oley, Guacamole's, Richardson Boulevard, Vance Avenue, Black Mountain Avenue, and Charlotte Street. So we got a lot done there, and it turned out really good. They done a great job. And our street striping, we had budgeted to get 37 street stripe within this year. Tommy Hart, JLS, he's going to complete that for us within this budget year. Now that it's warm, they should be starting on that. Montreat Road sidewalk, we got the construction documents back. I'd like to thank Anna at Ron Sneed's office. She's done a really good job. We're getting the easement plats. She actually mailed it to the HOA, and that guy's received it. I've got to set up a meeting with him and Jesse Gardner tomorrow and go over the construction documents. Then we get the easement plat signed and sealed, and then we'll be building sidewalk. And something I'd like to throw in on this that's good news is we met with DOT, me and Matt, Jesse, and a couple from DOT, Chad Bandy. Our next phase of sidewalk that we're going to put in, of course, all the way to the gate, DOT may have a requirement for us to put in curb and gutter, which of course is a lot more expensive. That could take a $400,000 job to over $1 million job. But here's the good part. We have got a chance for DOT to give us $250,000 of funding to put in the curb and gutter which would only leave us funding the actual sidewalk itself, and they would actually do the bidding and the construction. All we'd have to do is just fund our part of the sidewalk. So if that works out, that will be great, and we can move right on to the gate maybe and get a lot more lineal footage done, considering how it turns out. So we hope that turns out good news. On the safe routes to schools, Jill Edwards really, she's the one that really took over this project. She's done a great job with that, and so I give hats off to her. She's really worked hard on this project, and it'll be going out to bid tomorrow. It'll run about 3 weeks. It'll come back, and the way I understood it, the board will have to vote on and approve the lowest bidder. Mike Callaway with DOT will probably be working over, because it being a grant, it's really strategic stuff, and it's really documented very well, and he'll probably be overseeing the materials and the time that goes into it. So look forward to getting that one done. On the 2 dams emergency action plan with Army Corps engineer, we received the EAP. It's not the final EAP, so we're still waiting on that. As soon as we get that, it'll go to the state, and then the state will tell us what we will need to do on the dams at Lake Tomahawk and our watershed as far as if there's any construction to take place. So we're still waiting on that. On State Street, service line replacement, there's several service lines that come off of our water lines down State Street that need to be replaced because they're still lead lines. There's probably 35 to 40. So sometime within this summer, we'll try to start replacing them, because according to DOT, if it works out, maybe next year in the budget year, they will be repaving through State Street. We hope, if it don't get trumped during the budget process, but that's what we're looking at on that to replace that. But any questions on anything?
Make a comment on the park. You're right, it was devastating. And how quickly your crew turned that around was just amazing. It was outstanding. There was even damage going under I-40.
Yeah. They done a really good job, and I can't say enough about them, the way them guys pull together, and they get it done, and I'm proud of them. And I'd just like to say, a lot of this stuff wasn't in this report, but they've done a lot of training too. There's only 2 guys in my department that's not got their CDL license now. One of them scheduled in May. And if we get that, then that's a possibility of another savings as far as when the insurance rolls around, town insurance. If we could get a cheaper insurance rate, if the guys are CDL licensed. Had 2 guys go to Raleigh for 5 days for their B-Well license, which they'll be taking their test in May. So I got faith in them that they're going to do good on that. And we got a new employee that filled a slot we had, Jared McIntosh, and he's a young guy. He's a good guy. He's an asset to the town too. He's a good operator. He's got a lot of knowledge, and he's been doing a really good job. And I really look forward to where the department's going. And my big thing's customer service. So that's what I work on, and that's what we're going to continue to work on. And we're going to try to find better ways of doing things, and at the same time be a good steward to the taxpayers' money. And that's our goal from here on out.
I have one thing. Craigmont Road, I know that's state. That center stripe is really off on Craigmont Road.
In the curve.
Yeah. I've talked to one person at DOT, but I think it was the wrong person. If you would follow up on that.
One other thing I'd like to mention too, and that I about forgot. I'd like to thank the Urban Forestry Commission, John Wagner. I know back at the community garden, they had 12 arborists come over from the Blue Ridge Arborist Association, and these guys come over, and I mean, it wasn't a pretty day. It was blowing snow, and I mean, it was very cold. They worked 7 hours that day, and they thinned the canopy in them trees, and they took several trees out down there to improve that place. And a lot of the wood will be used for, mushroom and forest product gardens, and the dripulator supplied their coffee, and the pizzeria provided their pizza at half price and stuff. And I was impressed by that a lot of our commissions now, they're really on board and really wanting to do good things for this town, and I'd just like to thank all them. And Maggie Crow and them with the beautification committee, she got with DOT, and me and her got with them, and they're planning on redoing where you come off on the Highway 9 off of 40 down here. It was looking pretty bad, and they're planning on coming in and redoing that and making it more presentable and spending some money on it. So I'd like to thank them, and they've done a really good job and put a lot of effort into it. So.
Thank you. Pat, would you like to address the consent agenda?
Yes, sir. You've got the minutes from the February 28th, your March 7th, and your March 11th meetings, and you've got a resolution to maintain and support funding for the Parks and Rec Trust Fund, which is what we call a Part F grant, a funding source that we used, for example, to fund the pool at our pool a few years ago, and so it's just a resolution supporting maintaining that funding level for the Parks and Rec Trust Fund, which is at risk of being reduced significantly this year's budget.
Is there a motion to approve consent items A and B as presented?
I so move.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We didn't have anyone sign up, but at this time, is there any citizen that would like to make comments in regard to the new business that's on the agenda?
I'll be brief. I'll try to. My name is Dick Kennedy. I live at 43 Fates Overlook Loop in Black Mountain. I've addressed you a couple times before regarding things, issues for the settings of Black Mountain, and you're about to deal with one more issue. I just want to give you a quick kind of overview. We feel fortunate to be in the town of Black Mountain. We get very good relations with the town staff, and we've worked well with Aldermen. You may recall me in the past explaining that we had a system installed that wasn't complete for our water system, and we had to manually turn pumps on and off and that sort of thing. Through working with Landworks Engineering and Marty Kokot, who's here with us tonight, that system is now completed. All of the different components of the system talk to each other, the automation works, pumps go on and off automatically, and so that's why it's on your agenda tonight. We're ready to move ahead with it. Henry Judy's also with me. He's on our legal committee, and he's worked with Ron Sneed in preparing some of the documentation for this. So we're prepared to answer any questions you have on that topic when you get to it. And just one other thing to mention, I think partly because of some of the success we've had together, we have 4 homes under construction in the settings, 2 or 3 more in the planning process. So things are looking up for us. We appreciate it.
How many homes does that give you now in the?
I think by the time these 4 are finished, that'll be about 20, and like I said, 2 or 3 more will be started before this summer's over. But we have 270 property owners, and the association represents all of them, and they all have an interest in the future of the community and the town. So, is there anything else you want to ask me before we go on? Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, we'll move to new business, 7A. Ron, you want to address that?
As the board is familiar with, and we annexed the settings, part of the annexation ordinance is provided that at the point where their water systems were up and running and complete, certified, the town would take over those systems. That would be a period where you approve the system or taking over the system, and for a year they do all the repairs. They warrant their work. But when that year is passed, the town takes over and maintains the system. It's still a little bifurcated even with completion of it. If you adopt the resolution that's for you today, you'll approve taking over the water system. For the next year, you won't see much difference because the settings in the trial period or test period will run the water system, or at least maintain the water system. Once the town takes it over, the town will, under the resolution, will maintain everything. But who owns what and who pays for what will still be separated. The town will have their meters, of course, and maintain the lines. The town will also be responsible for maintaining pumps, telemetry equipment, and tanks, but the ultimate expense of those major items falls to the association. They will keep a fund in place if we have to make a repair on one of those, replace one of those into perpetuity, as the association will reimburse the town for that. In your packet, you have the certifications required at this point, where the engineer or the company that built it you have their certification. That's TNK Utilities, and Marty Kokot, the engineer, has certified that you have a system that's built essentially as designed and is ready to run. The action for you tonight is the adoption of the resolution that's in your packet that would take over the system. We'll step back one notch on that. As you all know, part of Phase 3 is not complete, not built, and not in. So this is, whereas it was contemplated years ago that it would be all built and then the town would take it over. The settings is asked, but under the circumstances, you take over what they have that's in place and running. At some point down the road, when Phase 3 is completed, of course, we'll come back to you with a resolution to take over that portion of the system.
Ron, it's my understanding that the automation part, things above ground, are still going to be in the HOA's responsibility. It's not going to be the town's.
Well, the town will be primarily the ones that on the spot for repairs, simply because they have the personnel. Mm-hmm. But the cost, yes, to the settings.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Kokot, you would probably have to answer this question. Just, I'm a little confused here to where it says on one of the bullet points, the water system constructed by the developer will be designed to no less than 20 pounds of pressure for each developed lot in all the phases. And the next bullet point says that the town shall not under any obligation modify or improve so as to provide any more than 20 pounds of pressure. I'm a little confused on that. Can you help me on that, please?
Well, again, that was drafted quite some time ago, back when the settings of Black Mountain Development Company was working on it is a state requirement that you provide a minimum 20 psi at the property line for pressure. The danger there is we don't want to modify the system where you're trying to increase the pressure to some of the upper zone or higher elevation lots, and then overburden lots that are further down the hill with, of course, gravity would increase the pressure and their lines would have too much pressure. So there's the danger there if you get into trying to adjust pressures to serve different lots differently. So the way the system's designed, it provides actually 35 psi pressure at the worst case right-of-way lots, okay? And everybody has service that's adequate. And we have pressure reducing valves on some of the lots to reduce pressure, because the pressures would be too great in those instances and it could damage some of the plumbing fixtures and things like that, hot water heaters, toilets, things that operate on a lower pressure.
The main question I've got, though, is that when you start looking at Phase 3, which is way up the mountain, and that you're looking at that for every foot in elevation, you're going to lose a half a pound of pressure. So that it's your system then that is going to have the automation that is going to be able to keep lower pressure on the bottom lines, but yet provide pressure for somebody that's 300, 400, 500 feet up in Phase 3.
Absolutely. It's an intricate design that involves different pressure zones, and there's a high pressure zone that serves a portion of the Phase 3B, which are the 3 roads that are incomplete. A good portion of those, the upper lots, as you suggest, will be served by the high pressure line that's currently in place and stubbed out to the bottom. All it needs to do is be extended up the hill. So.
Okay, so all this is a computerized, automated system.
Everything was designed as one system, and it's been installed. Everything is in and complete and operational, with the exception of the water mains that go into the streets that are incomplete.
When we go ahead and take this system over, and now we flash forward down 20 years from now, what is anticipated life cycle of these automated systems, and then the cost of replacement? Because that's going to be borne by the town.
No.
It's not going to be borne by the town?
No, when those systems come around to be major repairs or replaced, that cost falls back to the association. The town just has the lines and the meters.
The water lines have a very long useful life. The water meters is something you own and maintain currently. The pumps, tanks, communications, control panels, all of those appurtenances are taken care of or paid for by the settings HOA. But state law mandates that the settings can't be in the water business. So Black Mountain has to have that maintenance responsibility, but ultimately the settings HOA reimburses for any equipment purchases related to those appurtenances, pumps, tanks,
Is there any
communication.
maximums in here that if we spent $500,000, they're saying that, no, we can't?
No, that's not built in there. No, they didn't approach you like a health insurance company, no.
You mentioned you got 270, I believe, lot owners. How many of those currently have water access?
All but 30, excuse me, all but 30.
So you only need to do 30 extensions?
Yeah, when phase 3 is completed, there are only 30 more lots that would be accessible. And just to talk about your earlier issue, the highest elevation lots are already installed. The ones that are not yet installed are kind of in the middle range. Okay. And there won't be any additional pumps or automation devices for those last 30. The systems that is in place is designed to support them as well.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt resolution R-13-04 to begin the process of taking over the completed portion of the water system in the settings?
I'll make that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is, Matt, you want to address this one?
Yes, sir. This is a resolution to convey a portion of property at the golf course at 811 Hiawassee Avenue. They're making improvements to their property, and there's a property line, not a dispute, but between the way the county has lined up their property and the way their surveyor shows their property, they don't meet setback requirements of where their house sits. They have for years anticipated this was their property. They've maintained this section as their property. It's about 5/100ths of an acre. What they would like to do then, what they would request then, is that we basically surplus this portion. They've paid for the survey and had it surveyed, and they would surplus this portion to the town would surplus this portion. They would make an offer. They've offered $500 for that piece. We would then publicize that and accept upset bids for that piece of property. I think for 10 days. Is that right, Ron? For 10 days, and if not, then you would basically accept their offer that they made, and it would adjust the property line to accommodate their improvements, and so they can meet their setback requirements for improvements on their property. And I would just add too that we've talked to all the folks at the golf course. It's not a section of the golf course that anybody actually anticipated for golf play. The golf course had actually assumed that it was their piece of property. They had assumed it was their piece of property until they'd had a survey done. They didn't realize they didn't actually meet setback requirements. It's important to get this done just so they can meet our requirements and get their proper permits and make the improvements to their property.
Okay. A motion to adopt resolution R-13-05.
I'll make a motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Press C.
Your next item, Alderman Sobel had requested this be added at the agenda meeting. What this basically does is authorizes the town to enter a contract with High Country Surveyors to survey the potential route around the railway trestle in Norfolk Southern, so that we can begin the process of establishing where the greenway the route, a future route for the greenway at that section. You would have to have that. I think there's some issues over estates and who owns property and where a line might be, and this is basically, I think, what was the bid for that, Ron? The quote for that was roughly $800.
Approximately $800.
So approximately $800. We just would ask that you authorize the town to move forward with that and have that surveyed so that those easements can be drawn up at some future date so the greenway can continue through that area.
Your motion to approve contacting with High Country Surveyors of Black Mountain to survey potential route abutting the railroad tracks for future
I'll make the
greenway
motion.
extension. Have a motion, is there any discussion? Being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll have a public hearing. Is there a motion to open the public hearing on abandoned nuisance and junk vehicles as recommended by the planning board?
Make that motion.
There's a motion to open this public hearing. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye. We'll come back to.
Okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, at this time we'll have a public hearing in regard to this. Any citizen comments at this time in regard to this text amendment on abandoned nuisance and junk vehicles?
Would you like me to give just a brief overview of what's involved in that? What we basically have done, our existing ordinance, and everybody should have a copy of the entire ordinance in front of them now, defines junk, abandoned, and nuisance vehicles. We use General Statute 168-303 is the way we define those. We needed, basically our ordinance is not consistent with the state general statutes. The only text amendment that we made then for this purpose was to basically to put the word "or" between those definitions, because that was an issue that we had. Courts had determined that the way we were defining junk vehicles required all the provisions, and the state general statutes puts an "or" between each one, so that I think if the vehicles are not registered and they meet certain requirements, there's an "or" between those, and that's the text amendment that we made in the definition of what junk vehicles are.
There being none from the audience, any of the board members have comment in regard to this?
Yes, sir, Mayor, I do. I've gone over this line item by line item. There's a lot of these things on here that, for example, the abandoned vehicle and what it means. I'm okay with every bit of that. My concern is where we're distinguishing what a junk motor vehicle is. I'm going to give you an example. If I had a 10-year-old Rolls Royce sitting in my front yard and I don't tag it, is it a junk vehicle?
Can you drive it? The way the new definition is, Alderman Collins, if it does not have a current license tag on it, so if it's not tagged,
Don't have a tag.
and it's partially dismounted or wrecked, or it cannot be self-propelled or moved in the manner in which it originally was intended to move. If it meets those, if it doesn't have a tag, it meets one of those two requirements. Am I correct? If it meets one of those two requirements, it would meet our definition of a junk vehicle. Yes, sir.
I guess that's where I've got a problem with the definition of a junk vehicle. There's a possibility somebody could have a vintage car, the Rolls Royce example. It hasn't moved for 6 months. The terms that you have on the nuisance vehicles, I'm in complete agreement on them. But I personally have some heartburn over the distinguishing what is junked or a junk vehicle and nuisance vehicle. And I'd like to suggest that we send this back to the planning board and distinguish a little bit better what is the difference between the two.
The only thing that I would add to that, I think when we had our discussion last week, part of it was what could somebody do if they said you have a junk vehicle. Yeah, and I didn't know that. I went back through the ordinance to see. We can the ordinance now provides that you can cover it or move it to your rear yard where it's not publicly visible. And I understand, but I understand.
Brings up another issue. If you've got a corner lot, you can't put it in the backyard because you've got a road that's going beside that corner lot also. It makes certain lots a little bit more, harder to comply with this ordinance than what a normal street lot is, then it's got houses, you know, up and down the street. Putting in the backyard of one is okay on those type of houses. In a corner lot, it's not. And personally, you know, I just, having the town tell me what a junk vehicle is, I want it to be, I mean, you get the impression junk vehicle, I want it to be a junk vehicle. That there's, you know, if it's beat and tore up, the windows are out of it, it falls into the nuisance category, complete agreement with all that. If it's a health hazard, complete agreement. But if it's a vintage type car and it's not registered or tagged, and yet it's sitting there just like 99.9% of the cars are in this town, but they just move back and forth. This one just happens to occupy the same spot. I've got an issue with it.
And I agree with Don on that. And I think we need to send it back and let them define that more. I mean, the nuisance is definitely, I have no problem with that either, because it has to do with safety and health.
Mr. Mayor, is this a public hearing?
Not right now.
Okay.
This is the board.
But, you know, the fact in the way that we're letting some people define a junk car is, now you're getting into some different esoteric areas. You're talking, you know, maybe somebody could very well have modern art in their yard. And some people may think that that's junk. But we don't have any ordinance against that. We have a junk vehicle ordinance here, and yet maybe someone doesn't look at it as a junk vehicle. They may view it as the fact that they have a vehicle stored on their Oxide Ranch. So, you know, when you begin to look at these things, that if I want to keep 4 or 5 washing machines in my front yard with a posy coming out of them, there's no law against that, and that probably looks worse than an old car. So I'd like to request too that we send this back and let them work on that a little bit more. I think it's a little bit too restrictive.
What would the procedure, just out of curiosity, Roy, I mean, we're in the public hearing phase now, so, I mean.
Right, that would be done now. We got to close the public hearing before we'd ever go to that.
Okay.
But, once out of the public hearing, the choice on whether to vote,
Right.
see what the motion is.
Yeah, okay, right. Any other comments from the board?
Well, Ron, when you look at the GS that's quoted here, I guess that commission took into account the GS number that's quoted here in coming up with this?
That, back up a little bit on history, and we're getting more of it now than we had a while ago. But quite often, the towns can only do such things as the legislature allows. And that's what's called an enabling statute, 168-303 or whatever it is, in which they say that then in a couple of situations gives the municipalities the authority to control abandoned and junked vehicles. Now keep in mind, there's 2 different animals. And then it says, and it sets out definitions as to what junked vehicles are under the statute. You've got a little room to tinker with those definitions, but I'm making notes over here as the other aldermen are speaking, although they may send it back to the planning commission. My job is going to be how far can we go tinkering with those definitions. And the options may ultimately be that we can't tinker and we take what they give us, so we don't control junk vehicles, so we just remove it completely. We're not obligated to control them, but we may be limited on how we define them. And I just don't know that answer, but that's the question I'm putting down. But that statute is the enabling statute and defines junk vehicle. And our definition, what they've basically done when it came to you this time, there are 3 parts in the statute. One, the triggering event has no tag. And then if it has no tag, then you look to see, is it really junked? And as you think of it, it's beat up, it's wrecked, it's trashed. Second is that it won't run as it's intended to run under its own power. And the third is, and you have choices, but it's a vehicle that's worth less than $500. And I've got a feeling that the reason, I don't know this for a fact, but the planning board probably struck that because the legislature didn't say you could make that under $1,000. And it's kind of a useless definition right now with the price of scrap metal. You can have some real junk sitting in your yard, it's gonna be worth $500. But if you send it back, I'll need to look at how far you can reach on that.
Any other board comments? Elaine, good luck, come up.
Thank you. One of my points was, that Ron has already made, and that is that the second time that they have done this, they worked on it a year ago, wasn't it? And they didn't, at that time, bring the language into line with the state statute, but they have now. The other thing was, Don, if you want to get that Rolls Royce sitting in your yard, you can leave it in your yard if you put a cover on it. That was one of the conditions, I think, that the town manager mentioned, and a cover is not that expensive, to just buy a cover and cover it up. I'll buy it for you.
Any other comments? Being no other comments, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Make that motion.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I have a motion, and I'd like to send this back to the planning board and give us a little better, distinguish a little more between what junked and nuisance cars are.
Okay, you've heard the motion, is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ron, do you have any communication?
I have nothing further.
Matt?
No, sir. The only thing I would say is that you should anticipate in a couple of weeks that we'll start our budget workshops. Dean and I have been working on that. We'll have some numbers finalized. I just want to give you a heads up. Darlene will be sending out requests to set up some times for some budget workshops and look at the budget for the upcoming year.
Any aldermen would like to make comments?
Yes, sir, I would. On Tom's report, Gil's report that he gave to us, I just want to make it clear that the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners voted 7-0 to grant us the money to build the bathrooms on the town square. But I'm here to tell you that Ellen Frost led that charge from day one. She's the one who wanted to come and sit with the steering committee and see what was going on. This has been something that I know there have been other hands in, but without her, we would not have gotten that grant, not grant, but the money to do that. And I just want to make that public.
Matt, would you prepare a letter, I'll sign it, on behalf of the Board of Aldermen to all the commissioners, thanking them?
Yeah, I already did that.
You already did that?
You signed that.
Oh, I did? I'm gonna have to start reading what I signed. Any other communication from the board? If none, there's no objection, I declare us adjourned.